Welcome to the madness. The media has already crowned Caitlin Clark the GOAT. Some even say she has single-handedly grown the women's game more than any person ever. And there is a social media backlash if you do not agree. Here's why we at The Knowledge do not believe all the media hype in favor of Caitlin Clark is deserved. Have you ever heard of Breanna Stewart, University of Connecticut; Diana Taurasi, University of Connecticut; Jackie Stiles, Southwest Missouri State; Kelsey Plum, University of Washington; Katie Smith, Ohio State; Elena Del Don, Delaware. Notice anything similar about the women noted above? They are all white and they have all proven to have been better than Caitlin Clark. Don't hate me for leaving black women off my shortlist, I am just trying to make a point. My pick for GOAT is Candace Parker, but I digress. My point is Caitlin Clark is not even the best white female college basketball player to have ever played. Still, there are some who say Caitlin Clark is being hated because she is white. Others believe it is because of her stratospheric fame. But that can only happen when the media for whatever reason decides to make you their poster child. But for Caitlin Clark, the hype is beyond belief. Our question is why? The reasons seem to be varied, but some of the reasons can be dangerous. So, let's try to answer the question as to why. Let's start with statistics. Some people say Caitlin Clark is the greatest college scorer of all time. Even that is debatable. You must consider the many rule changes that have occurred since these scoring records were produced. Lynette Woodard is right. Lynette Woodard's all-time scoring record still stands when you consider the larger basketball she and the ladies of her time had to play with. No three-point line and no shot clock. Claiming that Caitlin Clark broke Pete Maravich's scoring record is insulting. Freshmen during Pete Maravich's era were not allowed to play varsity basketball, which means Pistol Pete only played 3 years and he also did not have a three-point line or a shot clock. Not Caitlin Clark's fault, but these are the facts. To reinforce the fact that my comments are not based on race, LeBron James breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record is also a joke. Kareem was not allowed to play in the NBA until he was 22 years of age. LeBron was allowed to play in the NBA at 18 years of age. Kareem did not shoot three-pointers. It didn't matter, there was not a three-point line in the NBA until 1979. Kareem started playing in the NBA in 1969. Not LeBron's fault, just the facts. Back to Caitlin Clark. When you review in-game footage of other players, especially the ones I have noted above, it should be clear that Caitlin Clark has no special skills except for shooting shots way beyond the three-point line. I may be old-fashioned, but I'm wondering how many coaches or teammates would promote this. Is making baskets from that distance entertaining? If so, then maybe she would be better off as a Harlem Globetrotter. So, what do you believe is driving all the attention? Is it because she is white in a sport where most of the best players have been black? Is it the growth of the women's game in general? Some in the media and elsewhere are giving all the credit for the game's growth to Caitlin Clark, and that is just wrong and disrespectful to all the women who have played before her, black and white. Is it because she plays for Lillywhite, Iowa? In this highly polarized political climate, that could be the case. There are many racial triggers in our American climate which has now touched women's basketball. So, why all the hype for this one player, who has been on the college scene for only 4 years? Too many in the news media, even some sports personalities have jumped on the bandwagon. Have media executives directed their personalities to promote Caitlin Clark no matter what? Is it because she is driving revenue? If that is the case, why is she driving the revenue? So, why is it that when current and former players question whether her game will translate into the WNBA, even when they are white, they receive backlash? Could it have something to do with her attitude? The media makes her out to be some kind of princess. She is not. Has anyone noticed the constant whining? She expects a foul to be called every time she has the ball. No, she is not the only player crying for a foul all the time, but Caitlin Clark commits an offensive foul almost every time she drives to the basket. reaching out, pushing her defender away. It is hardly ever called, and when it is called, a collective shock runs throughout the stadium. How can you call that? I do it all the time. If you have not noticed it, you have not been paying attention. Also, the disdain that Caitlin Clark had for Raven Johnson in the 2023 Final Four. It is one thing not to guard someone that you do not believe can beat you with their shooting, but it is another to totally disrespect another player and wave your hand at her as if to say you do not matter. That was classless and disrespectful. It sends a message about your on-court character toward other players. Is she the only one who acts in this manner? No, of course not, but don't put her on a pedestal as the greatest thing for the game ever and not call out her BS. That Final Four game against South Carolina in 2023 and Coach Staley is what helped raise the level of women's basketball. Very few people expected Iowa to beat South Carolina, especially since South Carolina was undefeated and heavily favored, but the calls in that game were absolutely horrible. Iowa manhandled South Carolina in the paint. They were literally grabbing, pulling, and holding South Carolina all over the paint. But, because the narrative was that South Carolina was too strong, too tall, and too physical, other coaches and the media complained, and the referees bought into it. Miss Staley did not challenge the referees enough to level the calls. South Carolina lost by 4 points. It is a known fact that when a team that is overwhelmingly black and they are playing a team that is overwhelmingly white, the black team must beat the white team by a large margin in order to take the referee's bias, whatever they might be, out of the game. If a referee has to make a call, it will rarely be in the black team or black player's favor, sort of like everyday life. This is a rule from high school to AAU, especially in basketball. That is why I believe all that emotion came out of Coach Staley and Aaliyah Boston after the championship victory last week. She did not want her team to be victim of another preventable on-court tragedy. And much props to Raven Johnson for overcoming that waving off insult and propelling her all-around game to another level, making it clear what her goal was for the entire 2024 season. The revenge tour, calling it out, and making it happen. That was some Muhammad Ali type shit. And it was impressive. Of course, this is our opinion, and asking questions while trying to impart some knowledge is what we do. Who is the real queen of the court? That would be Coach Staley. That is a fact, and it is not in dispute. Coach Staley was a great point guard in high school, college, internationally, and the pros. She played in 3 Final Fours and was named College Player of the Year twice. Coach Staley has won gold medals as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach. Coach Staley has coached at 2 colleges and won 3 undisputed championships, not including being the undisputed number 1 ranked team at the end of the COVID season. Coach Staley has won many other awards and accolades, but most importantly, Miss Staley lives her life with an unapologetic grace and attitude. She supports and coaches her players for life, not just for basketball. And she does it with the utmost humility. In closing, basketball is supposed to be fun. A game. A sport. But race is a part of everything we do in this country. It is how this country was built. The media has put too much pressure on this girl, Caitlin Clark, and many others. But that comes with the territory, and today it comes with money, which all these women deserve, much more than the overpriced institutions they play for. Stay tuned for more from the knowledge.